folks, this is Mike again. Today I want to talk about some mixing software. One of my fellow drummers, subscribers from my channel, Rob again, asked me if I may talk about EZmix from Toontrack, that one solution software kind of mixing software that Toontrack offers. EZmix2 is a great software. I use this still on my mixes, not as much on and often like I did in the past. But he asked me if I can talk about it because this seems to be a pretty decent software, especially for the beginners. So for everyone who doesn't know what EZmix is all about, you find it on Toontrack, the guys making EZdrummer and Superior Drummer. EZmix, they say it's a multi-effect plugin that lets you assign pro-designed audio processing effect chains to any audio source. EZmix basically is one software. I think it's about $129. And the thing about EZmix, you can get bundles, as you see, and of course, like every product from Toontrack, they make the money, especially with some of expansions, where you can like focus on drums, where you get mixing chains from professional engineers, guitar amps, focus on drums and rooms. So EZmix is a really convenient and easy solution, as the name suggests, and I will show you and I will talk about the pros and cons today in my little video. So first of all, I've just loaded up Steven Slate Drums. Here, nothing special. Some samples from the Deluxe series, which is not that processed, pretty raw. The DW kit, Black Beauty snare and some cymbals and a basic loop. And I've loaded EZmix on every instance of the tracks you see down here. For the kick, 2 snare channels, the heads, I've grouped the toms, overhead room, and on the master fader to treat the whole drum bus. So when you open EZmix, you will see this window here. It looks always the same. You see you have on the top left you have the instrument groups to choose from. You can pick one instrument. You can choose the different effects that provides, the type of effects, and in this case, of course, guitar amps. You can pick by genres or the packs you purchased. You see EZmix 1 and 2, this is the pack you get when you buy the software itself. I think there contains just like 120 different effects. And I've upgraded, bought some packs, the rooms and reverbs, the Randy Starr package, 2 mastering, and the drums toolbox. So I have quite a lot of options to choose from. And the basic approach of EZmix is that you don't have to worry about like that complex EQ, frequencies and stuff. You just like pick the instruments you want to treat, and then you have basically 2 knobs where you just like dial in the pure amount of effects you want to go on. And what's happening behind the scenes is that there are complex EQ, compression, reverb, and saturation chains Toontrack develops like going behind the scenes. So you don't have to worry about all the subtle and detailed work. You just like throw in the plugin, dial 2 knobs, and you're ready to go. So and you see what I do, like you see like all the effects going on in this right picture here. It's nice optics from Toontrack as well. So let's start with this track. Let's first listen how this sounds on its own. Just like, as I said, Steven Slate Drums, no processing at all going on. So straightforward. I will start with the group brass here, which I throw it on the master fader or like on the drum bus, whatever you call it. And let's start with some kind of group processing, which I do usually when I mix on my own. So we pick drums, and you see all the different names from the effects are going on. So when you see you have like distorted drums, for instance, and it immediately shows up right where you see all the things like a tape machine and an amp. You have here like classical drum bus. You see on the right EQ, some stereo enhancer and loudness plugin, and again some tape. And you see those 2 knobs, and they change. It depends on which effect you use. So in this case, I have the drum bus. It says EQ shape and parallel tap volume. So you have to do is like dial in those 2 effects, and you're ready to go. So let's listen how this sounds on the master fade. I will first bypass this here with a little checkbox here and then throw it back in. I think it's gonna get a bit louder, so don't be confused by just getting like raising up the volume, but you will immediately hear what this does to the track. And you can enforce not, of course, not to be fooled by loudness differences. You can adjust like the input level, so how many of, or how loud the signal is going into the plugin, and the output level as well. So like, let's try to adjust that. But you can immediately hear the EQ going on. It's like getting a little bit tighter. Some of the mid-range is cutting out. And the cool thing, you can just like play the loop and switch between the presets, and it will change the sound immediately. So very cool, very convenient. You just like don't have to, as I said, don't have to worry about EQ and compression settings at all. Just like try those settings, try and error, and you will immediately get a better sound, especially on drum samples in this case, because they are recorded quite well, of course. So just like for the fun, I have, and you have even like mastering chains here where you like put them on the whole track. And I think this one I learned from Luke Oswald, which he uses some time, the drum enhancer. This like really makes the drums pop out the speaker. So let's have a listen. First bypass again, and I will throw that in, how much like improved the drum track gets overall. And this nut, I will just first bypass that, but of course you can immediately, or you can even treat the individual tracks as well. So let's start with the kick here. And the same approach. You choose drums, kick, and then you just like try and error what sounds best for you. I really like that, really fat. Let's try some metal kicks. Bypass. Let's try the overheads again, easy. This is cool, some reverb adding to the track. Let's try the snare, pick drums, pick snare. And you see here when it's like turned red, you like just created too loud signal, so you make sure that you drop that back just a little bit because you don't want to distort the signal. This is nice with some reverb. Let's try the drums. I think we had some, yeah, I think that was the metal toms with some reverb going on as well. So a quick before and after when I just like bypass all the plugins at one time. So this is with EZmix going on some tracks, and now we'll bypass the effects. So you can see even those well recorded and punchy Steven Slate Drums, you can enhance them quite a lot. So it's well fun. But because this is not just reality working every one of us with good recorded samples, I will show you if this works even on a real track with real musicians playing on, where you don't have that clean signals coming through your microphones as samples usually are. This is a mix I've been working on from the band's cassettes. The song's called I Am Believer. I just like did some slide processing going on, but this is pretty much the pure track before mixing, and you see I've picked some EZmix instances on some groups or some individual tracks, and really want to show you how this works even on like real tracks and what the pros and cons are. So first of all, I will start the song so you get an idea how this sounds about like when the drum's starting from the beginning. So let's have a listen.
If you lay down your head and rest here tonight, I'll bet you'll stay here longer than a while. Can we be a while? The hands on my wrist and my are here to make you feel better than the same, than the same. So touch down your heart to my chest, yeah, 'cause you are what I believe in. You're what I believe in.
So I think you get the idea. A pretty decent pop ballad, but of course this is pure, this is raw, this is like recorded maybe in your own bedroom or living room. A decent performance. You see or you heard that I already picked some effects, especially on the piano and the harp and the glockenspiel. But of course the tracks definitely need some work to do, especially the drums sound kind of muffled, the voice is pretty much up front. So let's see if EZmix, as I showed you with Steven Slate, will work on this too. First of all, before I start working on the individual tracks, I really tried hard to get the snare sounding really good, but when I solo the snare and will start with the drums, you will hear there's a lot of, this not recorded quite well, to be honest, because you really hear like the wind noise of the drummer hitting the snare. So let's have a listen on the snare on its own. So pretty much hi-hat coming through from the bleeding, so I decided to replace this snare drum with a sample from Steven Slate's Trigger. So this is how it sounds after the replacing by a snare sample. So yeah, the only thing I really changed before using EZmix. So let's start with the drums completely. I will pick the same preset that I showed you with Steven Slate. You see here, it's the drum enhancer. And now I will throw it in and it will get some louder, but listen how the sound already improves. What I then, especially the overheads, they sounded really bad and really dull. I had to EQ them quite a lot before I throw in EZmix, and this is already the downside that I want to talk about. Let's have a listen on the overheads. What EZmix cannot do is like really work on frequencies that are sounding really bad because you don't have control, and this is like one of the biggest cons of the software, when you really have some tracks that really need help and treatment to really kind of remove bad frequencies, to really like get the shit out of the tracks. EZmix is probably not the best solution for that. So I think you really need at least some decent recorded tracks, and then EZmix can work quite well on your tracks. But I had to like put an EQ right before this. I would do like just a little bit more even, but just for the sake of this video, I started with the EQ here, and then I throw a overhead chain from EZmix on that track. So let's have a listen before and after. Still not good anyway, but at least better than before. So without going like through every of the tracks here, same for the room mics. Here the kick with EZmix, without the snare, and I thought like this is more of a creative decision when the drums started, because this is a ballad, it needs some reverb, and this is what EZmix can do as well. I sent a copy of the snare bus here to the snare reverb channel, which I created here. Picked a preset from EZmix. You see here, this is called Room and Plate. This is not particularly meant for being used on drums, but this is kind of a general reverb and room kind of effect. So let's have a listen on its own. So really huge, because I wanted that 80 sound reverb on that on the song when the drums start in, because it's a ballad, and I think it worked quite well. Same for the drum reverb. I've sent the toms and some of the overheads to the drum reverb, so to give the drums a kind of a overall reverb feeling. Let's have a listen on that first without, and then I will bring that in. It's subtle, but it works. So I will now play the drums without those two effects, and then I will bring them in so we can really hear the difference. Now in context with the song. Same for the strings. Because EZmix offers, even when you buy the pack on its own, offers like presets for every instrument, some more, some less. But I picked this stereo string preset here, added some shimmer, increased pretty much the stereo width. So let's have a listen how this sounds. Electric guitar. Some distortion going on because I really like that. You see some top boosting EQ, some delay adding. Let's go to the acoustic guitars. Without. With. And I sent some of the guitars to some delay because guitars usually need some delay. So let's have a listen what we have so far. And lastly, the most important thing, of course, the voice. The lead vocal here from that singer. I would start when he like has its own part here.
If you lay down your head and rest here tonight, I'll bet.
You know, the direct voice, because I knew that I used some reverb and delay for the voice, so I picked a preset from EZmix, which is called In Your Face Vox, which worked out pretty well. So again,
if you lay down your head and rest here tonight,
without.
I'll bet you'll stay here longer than a while.
And of course, voices or vocals always need some room, some depth and width. So I sent a copy of the Vox to this lead vocals FX channel, I call this, where I put some reverb on that. I would, of course, this track, as I said, needs way more help. Just for the sake of the video, I used some of the effects. So in this case, I used the vocal with plate reverb. Let's solo this first.
If you lay down your head and rest here tonight, I'll bet.
So together with the voice, I will just like turn those three, bypass them, and then I will bring them in.
If you lay down your head and rest here tonight, I'll bet you'll stay here longer than a while.
And lastly, for the backing vocals, I used a different preset with some slap delay, which works out pretty well on background vocals. I will just zoom in and put the background here.
Hands on my wrist and my stubby lip.
And finally, of course, EZmix, as I said, has some mastering presets as well, so you can really give the track the last finish and polish. So I've picked the Master 1 preset, which comes along with the basic, with the core software. Dialed in some top and bottom boost, as I said here, some scratch parallel where you can just increase the volume. So this is bypassed again. I will start the song again and then we'll bring in, and of course it will get some louder by, as I said, I think you get the idea.
Can we be longer than a while? The hands on my wrist and my stubby lips are here to make you feel better than the shame.
So a final quick A/B, I will start with all the effects going on, and then I will switch between bypass and activated plugins so we can really hear the difference. So let's start here at the verse again.
If you lay down your head and rest here tonight, I'll bet you'll stay here longer than a while. Can we be longer than a while? The hands on my wrist and my stubby lips are here to make you feel better than the shame.
So let's start, jump to the drums, so it's getting more obvious. So as you see, EZmix can really enhance the track, at least when it comes to like making the track from kind of the recording production to at least a good or decent demo version that you can send like to producers or to your friends and stuff. It's really easy to use, as the name suggests. It's had some convenience results, but as I said, the cons are that you have limited control, especially on tracks that need really some like work, because it has problematic frequencies. When you really have to dive in like the subtle moves you have to do while mixing. But at least like for you drummers out there, or doing some cover music for YouTube, when you have like your acoustic guitar, your drums, or using drum samples, EZmix is really a convenient solution. It costs like $120. Contains already a lot of presets to work on, and you can easily expand your library with presets by buying one of the sample packs, I think, or the effects packs. I think they cost $39 or stuff, so affordable as well. I still use EZmix on my mixes sometimes when I don't like want to dive in, or I just know that some of my kicks or drums in general need just some subtle work and no detailed work. I tend to use EZmix still to this date. So a good solution. I hope this helped you out. If you have any questions regarding the software, again, on mixing in general, on drums, mixing in particular, leave a comment below. I really appreciate every reaction. So thanks again for watching. Bye, and see you next time. Bye bye.